So tomorrow on Monday Night Raw, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill will defend their tag team titles against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Now, I've heard a ton of people say that they believe that Jade and Bianca will definitely drop their titles tomorrow on Raw, and I didn't even want to entertain that thought. In fact, I had to check and make sure it wasn't 420 today, because the way that people were talking about this match, I mean, you know what I'm about to say. I don't know how YouTube handles this, so let's move on. But the more that I think about this, the more and more this actually makes sense. So what I want to talk to you guys about is the clues that they're leaving to show us that this could possibly happen tomorrow on Raw, and whether it's a good or a bad idea for this to happen. Now, before we get into it, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. So let's talk about the most obvious clue of them all, and that is what happened on Monday Night Raw. And I kind of talked about this in another video, so I want to kind of breeze past this as fast as possible. So what happened there is Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and Dominic Mysterio, they came out to the ring to celebrate Liv's victory at Crown Jewel. Then eventually Bianca and Jade Cargill comes out to the ring. Bianca and Liv goes back and forth with each other as far as arguing, and then eventually Bianca Belair slaps the fire out of Liv Morgan, and Liv stumbles like a brand new baby deer, and that's basically the gist of that entire situation there. Now, what's interesting here is Bianca Belair as being the babyface. Now, although Liv Morgan definitely deserved to get the fire slapped out of her, Bianca Belair's choice to slap her tells us that, you know, WWE may be creeping her closer and closer to being a heel in the future. I think that kind of foreshadows what they want to do with her. But what's more important than the slap is the motivation behind her decision to slap Liv Morgan. Because before that happened, Liv Morgan kept accusing Bianca Belair as being the person who's going to stab Jade Cargill in the back. Now, we all know when it comes to people, if someone is verbally saying something about someone and eventually they get upset and attack them violently, then usually what that person is saying has some truth behind it that that person did not want the world to know about. So that could possibly be the situation with that. Also, Liv Morgan kept accusing Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill of not really being friends. They only hang out because they're tag team champions, as opposed to Liv and Raquel, who are actual friends. And later on in that same episode of Monday Night Raw, they had a women's battle royal, and the winner of that will be the #1 contender that will face Liv Morgan for that title. Now, in that match, we saw a standoff between Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, which basically tells us that really soon they're going to be facing each other in a match. Now, the other thing that I'm thinking about is that this could be a conspiracy theory, okay? This is just coming to my brain, so take this with a grain of salt, is the fact that they introduced the Women's United States Championship on SmackDown. Now, when it comes to that title, most of us are already thinking that the inaugural champion 9 times out of 10 is going to be someone from SmackDown. Now, why does that matter? What does that have to do with the tag team titles? So if Liv and Raquel wins those tag team titles, guess what that means for the SmackDown women's roster? They have nothing to do unless they're going against Nia Jax. So I think that they introduced that title right now for someone on the SmackDown brand to give them something to do while the Raw brand has the women tag team championship. It's almost like when Roman Reigns had the title and they basically created the World Heavyweight Championship because they didn't want Roman to lose that title anytime soon. It kind of feels like that, but not the same, but more so just to give the women something to do on SmackDown. Again, it's just a conspiracy theory, but maybe, just maybe, it could play a role. And guys, I'm completely aware that those tag team titles can be defended on any brand, but up until that build up to Crown Jewel, those titles have primarily stayed on SmackDown, and I'm expecting them to do the exact same thing when Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez get those tag team titles. So the next thing has to do with NXT. Now, take this with a grain of salt because this is just coming from my mind and I have no visual proof to support this, but I really believe that WWE's long-term plan was for Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair to lose those titles to a heel tag team, for that heel tag team to lose to this next tag team I'll talk about in a little bit. Now, we all know with those women's tag team titles, it can be won on SmackDown, Raw, or NXT. Now, with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill eventually going to split, or one's going to turn onto the other one, it will make sense for them to lose that title to Liv and Raquel Rodriguez, because there isn't really any tag teams that are heels that would even make any sense. They already beat Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Pure Fusion Collective are nowhere near ready to become tag team champions, so they need more time to build them. So Liv and Raquel will make all the sense in the world at this moment. But I think in the future, they are definitely going to drop those titles to Stephanie Vacker and Julia. And I think that will make all the sense in the world. And with Liv Morgan being on the run that she's on, when they do have that match against those two, it will bring so many eyes down to NXT for a ratings boost. And I think that will be a smart decision. So if they want to circle back to the Rhea versus Liv and Raquel Rodriguez situation, they can definitely have Rhea Ripley be the one to cost them their tag team titles just to extend this feud into probably WrestleMania. I don't know if they should do it, but you know, it's a possibility. So the next thing is something that's kind of weird to give some attention to, but it has something to do with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. And I don't know if you guys heard, but last week, Jonathan Coachman basically said that Jade and Bianca does not get along in the locker room. Now, this could be him just trying to get publicity, get his name trending. I don't know if he has a podcast or whatever. Maybe he's just trying to get people to listen. And there is a 99.9% chance that that is true, and that the fact that they don't get along backstage, that could be completely false. But I just want to entertain the fact that he actually said that. You know, it's kind of interesting he said it around the time that we saw what we saw on Raw last week. So I don't know if he just said that because he just wanted to say it for attention, or if WWE was like, hey, just say something real quick to kind of help us out with this angle, and because you have nothing to do with WWE as we assume, then maybe fans would just believe it, and then that'll play into the storyline. But it could mean nothing. It could mean nothing. And the next one is pretty obvious. I mean, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair pretty much washed everybody in the tag team division for the most part, so it just doesn't make any sense for them to continue to hold those titles, because then now if they do beat Liv and Raquel, who is next for them to face? I don't think they're going to face Stephanie Vacker and Julia at this point in time. Would that be a dream match? Absolutely, but I think it's way too early for Stephanie or Julia to face someone like Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. But if that does happen and they lose the title, I won't be mad at it, but I don't think this is the time to do that. The next one is pretty obvious. I mean, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair pretty much washed everybody in the tag team division for the most part, so it just doesn't make any sense for them to continue to hold those titles, because then now if they do beat Liv and Raquel, who is next for them to face? I don't think they're going to face Stephanie Vacker and Julia at this point in time. Would that be a dream match? Absolutely, but I think it's way too early for Stephanie or Julia to face someone like Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. But if that does happen and they lose the title, I won't be mad at it, but I don't think this is the time to do that. And the final thing has to do with long-term Liv Morgan fans. While Liv Morgan is having such a historic run right now in her career, why not give her the tag team titles along with her having the Women's World Championship? Because it'll solidify her as a champion outside of just dealing with things with the Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley. And the last time we've seen any woman have a main title and the tag team titles at the same time, it was Bayley and Sasha Banks. At the time, Sasha Banks was the Raw Women's Champion and Bayley was a SmackDown Women's Champion, and collectively they were the tag team champions. So it'll be a little bit of history added on top of that as well. So after all that, if you haven't realized, I think it does make sense for Jade and Bianca to lose their titles tomorrow on Raw. In fact, I think there is a high chance that that will definitely happen. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this is a good idea for them to drop the titles tomorrow? Do you think it make all the sense in the world, or you think this will be a terrible booking decision? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. Salute, peace, have a good day.